welcome to the big program. We took a couple weeks off, but here we are back. Last night we got to. I got the privilege of calling the UNM game, the charity game there at the pit. So that was a lot of fun. Not a lot of defense in that game, but it was a lot of fun. And so that was really cool to kind of get back in with that crowd, see a lot of Lobo faces of the past. But we're back at it here just before we hit the road again for Farmington. I think the rest of our crew is all heading to Farmington for some baseball coverage. But here we are. And before we get started, I was reading some stuff before the show about name, image, and likeness. And it came to my understanding that we could have an official local focus athlete. There's actually nothing in the law that would prohibit high school kids from making money off of all this name, image, and likeness. So we could, if we thought about it, we could have like a shooting shirt for basketball or something with our logo on it. And there's actually no law that would prohibit that from happening. So I'm just waiting for that first big announcement. Hey, when does Amari Brown signing with so-and-so? Or when is so-and-so signing with this? It's going to happen. It's bound to happen. Maybe we have a local focus athlete. Who knows? I don't know. Do we have a budget for that yet, Josh? No, that's not in the budget yet. I mean, we're doing upgrades, but we're not quite there yet. Hey, we're excited about our guest today. He helped lead his team to a state baseball championship. During the state tournament, he went 6 for 9 with 6 driven in, 6 runs scored. Akili Carris of the La Cueva Bears is our guest. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's start there, man. What a tournament.
I mean, it was great, especially when we started off. We were in the district lead going into the 2 games against El Dorado, and we dropped the first one and kind of punched us all in the gut a little bit, and then we win the next game like we're supposed to against El Dorado this year.
Well, you're supposed to win the first one too.
Right, you're supposed to win the first one. We didn't do our jobs in that first one. And then we come out in the seedings. It was that Saturday night, and because we didn't win our district,
right,
we didn't have an automatic bid. So we were all a little bit on our edge of our seats. But then things came out, and we were the 4 seed, and we got Cleveland the first game. And we actually looked, and we were more excited where we were, because we didn't have to go to Hobbs if we had won our first game and they had won their first game like Sandia had to do. Because anytime you have to get on a bus and drive, even 3 hours when we had to drive to Farmington twice, but when you have to drive 5 hours, that's a long trip. And then to get off the bus and expect to win a state playoff game, it's hard to do.
For our viewers in Hobbs, this is a lovely town, I've heard. So we just want to get that out of the way. But were you surprised that you still got a home game there in that first round?
Maybe a little bit, but we were looking at certain things, and Coach Pineda had said he expected us to be either the 4 or the 5 seed, so somewhere around there. So when we got the home seed, we were excited. You get to play on your home field. The routine's the same. For us, we like listening to our walk-up songs, kind of loosens us up. So that was exciting for us. And then once we won that game, and we were down, I think 4-0 after the first couple innings against Cleveland, got a little on the edge of our seats, a little nervous, but that was the game Coach Pineda was in Phoenix with Mrs. Pineda. But Coach Magaha, Coach Gracie, Coach Engel, they did great jobs, helped us win that game. And I think, that play by Noel out in right field, throwing the guy at home, it kind of brought a spark for us. And then after
let's talk about that a little bit, because from our vantage point, what we saw from the broadcast booth there was kind of he makes this great play. Obviously, there should have been an ejection at the plate. There wasn't an ejection, but you guys were already out to go. I mean, you were ready to throw blows. and they had about 3 or 4 kids come out of their dugout. To us, that looked like, whoa, okay, there's a big difference here. This play really fired you guys up, not so much on the other side. I mean, I don't know, are we reading too much into that, or did that really pump you guys up?
I think it actually pumped us up a lot. But, with us, I don't know how Cleveland was. I can't speak for them. But for us, our group is so tight this year, and everybody was just friends with everybody. There's not a person you didn't like on the team.
Right.
So when that happened, we're all there to back up David's back, And I mean, luckily he hung onto the ball. So still got that out. But, and then especially when Coach Magaha was out there fighting for us, I think that lit a spark. And then Ronan.
That guy's a little on the other side of intense, isn't he? Is he a little on the other side of intense where he's like uber intense? Like, that guy scares me.
At times, yeah. But he really loves his players.
Oh, yeah, I can tell. I mean, and he's always been like that, even when he wasn't here in Albuquerque. But just seems like that's the kind of guy. I wonder what he's like in practice, because he seems like the ultimate kind of intense competitor guy. Am I reading that correctly?
When it comes to his pitchers, he is.
Yeah.
When we go through scrimmages and he's calling pitches, he gets pretty competitive even with his own hitters.
Right. So, I mean, was that a classical win one for the Gipper since coach is out of town kind of thing? I mean, was it easy to rally the troops in that game? Kind of is that the mindset you guys got before that game?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. And then we had talked to Coach Pineda's daughter and trying to get the green out, which is what we called it, in support for Mrs. Pineda. You know, the green out. A lot of people came in support of her and the team. So that was really nice, especially when you're at home and you get fans there. The energy kind of helps you.
So, I mean, we're gonna pick up on that on the next couple of games here after our first commercial break. But so right around this time, your sister shoots 1 under in the state tournament. So like instantly you're knocked off the head. You know, like it was too late to invite her. By the way, that's why you're still here. No, I'm just kidding. But that, I mean, what's more impressive, hitting 600 during the baseball tournament or 1 under par in the state golf tournament? I don't know, man. I know which one I would rather take.
I would rather take hers.
Yeah,
especially going to play with her. I mean, she's fantastic.
Do you let her play from forward tee? Do you make her play in the back? Like,
I always make her play from further back, and she still beats me by 20 shots.
Really?
So, I mean, I should make her play from the tips, and I get to play from the red tees.
So what is the what's the best you've ever? I mean, what's the closest you've ever come, whether it be on a hole or whether it be in a round?
I think one time I shot a 96, and she probably shot a 78 that day. Something like that.
Yeah. That's
just how she is. She always has to beat me at stuff.
So, and does she let you hear about it at home?
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time.
As soon as we found out, we're like, "Whoa, this is pretty exciting." 1 under par, because all of us kind of just recently got into golf here at Proview Networks. All right, so you get past that game. I mean, at that point, in my opinion, and I think I said it on the broadcast, is if you guys got past the first game once everyone threw their ace, it was your tournament to lose because that lineup's just so good. Obviously, you guys don't think like that, but what are some thoughts after that first win?
Well, what's different about this year is this year was only 3 games, right? It was a state tournament where usually it's that best of 3 round in the first one, and then you get the 3 games after that. So usually you'll see a team's like ace or second guy. Like I know for us, we have 3 or 4 guys who could be aces on other teams, which is why we're lucky for this state tournament and for all the other ones too. But once you get past that first ace, then it's a dogfight really. But that's like with us when we had Tyler throwing. He's an ace for almost every other school. So for us, the pitching wasn't as hard for us, like throwing against other teams. But I think once we got, but the kid from Oñate, was it Lemus was his name? He wasn't bad, you know.
No, it was very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I think those first 2 rounds where you saw the big guns coming out first, and then once you got to the championship game, it was kind of, all right, who's going to step up?
Right. Well, so we'll take our first time out. We'll pick it up at the Oñate game when we get back.
Clark's Pet Emporium, your pet's second best friend. Visit clarkspet.com.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Oh, we're back with La Cueva's Akili, Carris. We were talking about the playoffs, got past the first round. You get Oñate next. Oñate just defeated Rio Rancho. So obviously they're feeling good about themselves. Just take us through that game real quick.
Yeah, I mean, when we watched, I think most of the kids went out and watched the Rio Rancho, the end of the Rio Rancho game. I didn't because I had a migraine earlier that day, so I actually stayed home for that part of it. But they all went out there and they're texting us and we're like, it's still 0-0 into the 9th. And then all it took was it was a 2-out walk and then one ball that found the gap, and then it's 1-0. And I mean, that was a crazy game.
Yeah.
And then when they come to us, we like to talk and say that nobody beats us on our home field.
Right. But they're at this point obviously not intimidated because they just came into the city and they just took out an undefeated team. So I don't think there's any amount of tradition or dynasty talk that would intimidate them at that point, right?
No. I mean, what's hard when you play teams from out of town, especially in the state tournament, is you don't know anything about them, right? We don't know anything about them. They probably had a little more on us because some of our games were on the Proview network, but then the only game we've ever seen them play was the one against Rio Rancho, and they were very impressive. So
as a hitter, were you kind of thinking in your mind like, "Wow, I'm glad I don't have to face that guy"?
Yeah. And then I was watching because I figured if Oñate had won that game, that we were going to see Limas,
Right.
and he was relieving that game. So I kind of went through that night and looked at some of his stuff, the way he was throwing. But it's so hard to tell on camera
Right.
how to prepare for certain guys. But when they came in, it's also hard for them. Like you said, they did come in and beat the number 1 seed, but I think our name, La Cueva, has not an intimidation factor, but they just kind of expect you to be solid.
Right.
And those first couple innings, we weren't really solid defensively, and I think gave them some life.
I think I called you guys the bad news, Walter Matthau's Bears. I don't know if you caught that reference,
Mm-hmm.
but I called you guys Walter Matthau's Bears. Yeah, it was a very un-La Cueva-like performance for parts of that game.
That's how it was against El Dorado that first game.
Right.
That's one of the main reasons why we lost is our defense wasn't where we expected it to be. And through those first couple innings, that's how it was against Oñate, but then we picked it up and it worked out for the better for us.
Right. At this point, I mean, because you're locked in, you're 2 for 3 in every game. So we mentioned the 6 for 9, the 6 RBIs, the 6 run scores. Does the ball look bigger at this point? Are you totally locked in at this point? I mean, can you already feel that, or you're just kind of doing your thing?
You can kind of feel it. It's more like you're not thinking as much up there. You're kind of just seeing a pitch that you like and you trust your swing and hit it. When you're struggling a little bit, you start to think about, all right, where should my hands be? Where should my load be? All that sort of stuff. But when you're in a groove like that, it's kind of you just get up there and you don't expect yourself to get a hit, but you expect yourself to to make solid contact. And for the most part, I did that. I mean, even the one against Cleveland, I was 2 for 3, but my first hit was a little like a tapper that had eyes.
Not in the box score, my friend. Not in the box score.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Hey, let's take a look at we put some of these at bats together. But Josh, if you want to roll whatever you have, and we'll take us through it here. I think what impressed me the most is, we'll take us through this here. It looks like this is the Cleveland game first. That's that line drive you're talking about, right? In the box score. So, but other than that, the rest were all pretty much, wherever they were pitching you, that's where you were hitting it. Is that your general approach at the plate, or are you just that locked in, or?
Yeah, that's my approach most of the time. What was weird is during the whole year, I pretty much pulled every ball that I hit.
Right.
I had a couple to center, maybe a couple to right center, but in the state tournament especially, everything I hit was centered to the opposite field except for that last game, the championship game, which was the sac fly.
Right.
But other than that, everything else was, kind of uncharacteristic for me throughout the year by going the other way with the ball a lot. But I don't know, especially in the state tournament, you're just trying to put the ball in play.
Right. So here's the 2 against Oñate. We saw there's the one to right. It just didn't look like there was a place that a pitcher could go to get you out during that tournament. Whether it's, sometimes soft stuff away, up and in. It didn't seem like there was a place that a pitcher could go to get you out. I mean, were you feeling that comfortable up there?
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable. You're always looking for something that maybe they're tipping their pitches a little bit, see what you can get. I think we do a good job of that as a team. We try and look for, ways to pick signs, stuff like that. But at a certain point, you see the sort of velocity that you see enough that it doesn't intimidate you anymore.
Right.
So it's kind of pretty much you're seeing the same thing almost every game, and just get into a groove.
And then, of course, it has to help when you're in that lineup. You're so protected where they can't pitch around you in any way.
Right.
And because there's a 500 hitter in almost every spot in that lineup. So that has to help you tremendously.
Especially in front of me, David Cooper and I, we play together for like 4 or 5 years now. And we kind of call ourselves the 1-2 punch, where he'll get on double, single, triple, home run, whatever he does. And then I'll do my best to drive him in. But he was fantastic for us all year. And same with behind me with Ryan Roach. He was our big power guy. we needed a big hit from him. He delivered for us.
Hobbs game comes around. We have some highlights of that too, Josh, if you want to roll into that. But, what are your thoughts heading into that game? I don't think we'll talk over these, right? We can talk over these? Yeah. So there's another solid shot the other way. But you probably didn't know much about Hobbs coming in either, right?
Yeah, we didn't know anything about him. We had a good idea of who was going to throw against us because he had thrown their third most innings on the year. And then I personally knew about McCool just because I saw his numbers and whatever. I think we all knew about him.
Right.
And we saw that Sandia really didn't want to mess with him in the semifinal game. But luckily for us, when we had him, it was either just lead off the inning or with 2 outs with no one on. I think that's...
And 3 ground balls to short later.
Right.
I mean, you guys pretty much took care of him. So that, I think, that's a lineup that can't get going if Brevin's not putting the ball in play for them.
Right.
So it turns into a little bit of a laugher there for the state tournament. And just talk about the excitement post-game there. I mean, everything you guys have been through.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, like I said, we went from, April?
Right.
Maybe a little bit before April, March, thinking we weren't going to have a season. And, everyone was so disappointed because we had been doing our pods since, September, October. We were doing our pods. Once the pods got expanded, we got excited. And then it sort of hit that period in late March when we all thought we weren't going to have a season. And then turned out we got one, had to wear masks, but we all would rather play and wear masks than not play.
Right.
And then the journey throughout the season, it went by really fast. Like that's hard part when you're playing through it and you get to that championship game and either you win or lose and the next day you realize that that's over.
Right.
And you got to wait a whole 9 months till you start up again. But you don't want to rush those 9 months either because for most of us it's going into our senior year.
Right. The other thing you guys kind of dealt with this year too, I mean, that not a lot of people know about or talk about is, so pre-COVID, beginning of the year, everyone's talking about this could be the best La Cueva team that Coach Pineda's ever had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of those kids end up moving out of state because of COVID. And so at that point, I think it's fair to say a lot of people fell out of love with La Cueva, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's starting to talk about Rio Rancho, Sandia, some of these other players, some of these other teams. And, kind of there's La Cueva just kind of in the background. All these guys moved out of state, but you guys didn't really miss a beat. I'd hate to see how that team would have looked like, but it seemed like you guys didn't miss a beat. But that's definitely something that you guys had to overcome, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I think with us, we're so deep as a program that when one of those guys moves out, we have a guy who's just as good that can come in and fill their shoes. But I think the team that we had was such a brotherhood. And, like I said, we all liked each other so much. And I think even though those kids moved, it led to opportunities for other kids to play. Like even for me personally, a senior moved who was probably a middle infielder. And,
Right.
It kind of led to me and Ronan Hella getting our chance to play. And, we stepped up, I think, from what I would say, we stepped up, and everybody else stepped up too, I think that's the great thing about our program.
Right. We'll take another time out here. We'll get back to more of baseball talk, and then I'm told that you were also a 4.4 student, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
that means you have to play a little bit of Proview Network's local focus spelling bee, maybe, with some baseball names?
Okay.
All right. We'll
I'll
be
try
right
it.
back with Akili Carris.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of Proview Networks.
Back with Akili Carris of the La Cueva Bears. You just took a visit to Air Force, right, after the state tournament as well. So tell us how that went.
It was really good. It was good to go up there and meet the coaches, and I've been talking to Coach Rasinger, and I've heard a lot of good things about Coach Kaz, who's the head coach, and everything that I've heard, he exceeded expectations for me. He's very positive. You can tell he really loves his players. He looks out for them, and something there that's different from probably every other school besides the other academies is, baseball comes third. It's school, first it's the military, then
Right.
it's school, and then it's baseball. Something they talked about, they still want to win, but they'd rather have, good kids around there who are willing to serve for their country.
Right. And so obviously I would think the recruiting thing had to hurt baseball players a lot when you didn't have a season last year. You get a short, compact year this year. I mean, talk about that. That had to affect kids, right?
Yeah, for sure it did. I think it affected the seniors this year more
Right.
than it affected us. So in a way we were lucky because of this senior class, what they missed out on their junior season. And then this senior season when really everybody's already committed to go play places, they don't really have a shot. So
Right.
kind of lucky for us that we got a season this year.
Right. So, I mean, I would imagine the offers will start coming in pretty hot and heavy this year in this off season, right? Right? Coaches out there, right? I mean, I know there's a guy always talking about Omaha downtown, right? And I mean, if Omaha's ever going to happen, I want to give my guy here a call. But I mean, I would imagine that would ramp up. I know you guys have a lot of off-season stuff going on now. Connie Mack's coming up and everything. But I mean, that's got to be coming. It's got to be on your mind, right?
I hope so. If they present themselves, then I'll think about it. I mean, I don't even know if this Air Force thing is going to happen. But if that opportunity presents itself, I'll definitely explore it. Same with other schools.
4.4 GPA, that certainly would help out the team GPA at any school, right? So let's talk about that because, I mean, we focus on the athletic piece always, obviously, but that is even more impressive to maintain that through all your athletics. So usually a 4.4 GPA comes from incredibly good upbringing. So talk about your parents and kind of their expectations of your academics.
Definitely parent-driven. I mean, at a certain point, when you're in middle school, it's a lot more parent-driven. But when you get to high school, you kind of, it also depends on your friend group a little bit.
Right.
Plus, my sister's a really, really good student, so I kind of try and compete with her in that. But when your friends around you have the same GPAs or a little higher, you still want to push yourself. But
Right.
it definitely comes from my mom more so than my dad. My dad cares about it a lot too, but my mom's the one who's getting honest about our homework and our tests, stuff like that.
It's one of those, like, you don't get A's, you don't play kind of situations, because I hear that a lot.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Unless it's a really, really challenging class, but for the most part, if I don't get A's, I'm not playing.
Well, we've had a few 4.4 GPA students in that seat, and so we've played Local Focus Spelling Bee with them before, and they haven't done too well.
Okay.
So I'm going to sit this one out, and since we're running short on time, we just have 3 names for you, okay?
Okay.
Are you up for that?
I think so.
All right. We're going to start pretty easy, and we'll go. I think he was a middle infielder. I believe he's a bench coach now, or a third base coach, Gary D. Sarcina. Just last names. So D. Sarcina. Start with Gary D. Sarcina. Just give that a go. Oh, there's a picture of him and everything. That looks like his
Okay.
mugshot there. But all right.
D. Sarcina.
D. Sarcina.
Oh, boy. D-E-S.
No, that's already wrong. So
That's
we
already wrong?
we can move on. So
Oh, man.
we didn't have a buzzer prepared. Okay.
okay.
All right. We'll go a little more. We're moving a little closer to your time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But probably still a little before your time. First baseman for the Twins and Red Sox, Doug Minkiewicz.
Doug Minkiewicz.
There's a picture. That's him. Yeah.
Doug Minkiewicz.
Doug Minkiewicz.
M-E-N-K-A-V-I-C.
No, that's really bad. That's not that close. All right, last one. This one's very modern, so you probably saw him play. You may hear him on the broadcasts. A.J. Pierzynski.
No.
White
Yeah,
Sox.
I've heard him on the
right?
broadcast.
White Sox catcher. One of my favorite broadcasters. There's A.J. right there. He was on the 2005 World Series team under manager Ozzie Guillen.
P-E-R.
That's wrong.
Darn it.
0 for 3. 0 for 3. Hey, you get there it is. There's that one. See, Josh put the spelling on that one on there.
No way.
So yeah, our 4-4s are still looking for their first one, right? We're still looking for our first correct spelling. All right, we're glad you could have some fun with that with us. All right, so talk about. I want to go back to the whole, your upbringing, your parents. I would imagine the traditional La Cueva route took you through Eastdale Little League, right?
Yes, it did.
Talk about that.
So originally I had started at Altamont Little League when I was really little, like 8, 9 years old. And then, everybody dreams of going to the Little League World Series, and a lot of the club kids that I played with were all Eastdale. And so luckily for me, I was going to Desert Ridge Middle School at the time. So there was a rule that middle schools would feed into certain playing locations as well. So I used that to get into Eastdale for the major little leagues. And so we did that, and we won the district, won the state, and got to Waco, and that was an experience of a lifetime for me.
You guys got Coach Pineda with the Gatorade. Now, was that planned, or did you kind of – because I was noticing in a lot of other state tournaments this year, they weren't allowing it, but you guys got him with the Gatorade. Was that planned?
I don't think it was planned, actually. I think it was Jackson Mang and David Cooper, I think, who did it.
Yeah.
I don't know how they came up with it. It was not a team thing, but
Right.
I don't know if he was too pleased with us that we did that to him. But
Did you guys have to run?
maybe next year.
All right. All right, so moving forward here, I mean, this is going to be a tough season to top, right? So what are individual goals, team goals, and stuff that you set right away for yourself after a special season like that?
Team goal is to repeat, for sure. I will also get a Metro tournament this year, I hope, so maybe we can win that as well as the state tournament. But we also would like to win our district this year. It was kind of an odd year where we didn't win our district and still won the championship.
Right.
We'd like to put another year on that board for district and state. Personally, just want to do the same or better than I did this year. It might be a little tough, but I put up some good numbers for me to try and beat next year.
And I mean, what kind of work are you doing? Like, what goes into your off season?
For the most part, it's usually going to play games. I think that's the biggest part for baseball players is getting that experience, game experience, because when you're in practice, you practice situations and you take ground balls and hit BP or whatever, but nothing compares to a game situation. And when you get a live arm going, or when you're trying to throw a guy out who's a lot faster than you think, stuff like that. Getting in the weight room some, I think that's always useful. Try and get some more power on my swing, but other than that, just stay with it. Might take like a week or two off, something like that. What was good when I played basketball is you get that nice couple-month break, and then right when you're done with basketball, you really want to go back and play baseball again. So I like that.
Will you try to improve your golf game at all?
I definitely will, especially with how good my sister is.
Now, you have a quick story about your sister. She almost chopped your ear right off?
Yeah, so it was, I don't remember how old it was, probably around 5. And she was hitting in the backyard with the little plastic balls or whatever. And she was swinging, and I walked into her backswing. And I learned not to do that again. It was
right ear, left ear? I mean, does it matter at that point?
It was my left ear. I still have the scar. I can still feel it. So,
wow.
And then she went out with my uncle after that. While I was on my way to the emergency room, she got to go get ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Hey, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for
having me. A very
having me.
impressive young man. All the continued success. And we get to see you for a whole nother season. We want to thank you for watching and thank Akili for coming in. Good night, everybody.